Lawrence O'Brien Trophy. It's the NBA's most coveted prize, and it's found a home in Houston. So is Akeem Olajuwon, who on draft night 11 years ago was the #1 selection and has propelled the Rockets to the league's stratosphere. With the help of a few others who stepped into the spotlight on this night, stardom may not have been forecast for them, but there was something about their talents that turned heads and helped turn Houston into the home of the NBA champions for 2 years running. Tonight, from the home of the expansion Raptors, Toronto hosts the 1995 NBA Draft. He's no ordinary Joe, and he could become the first Maryland Terrapin chosen first overall since '76. A couple of Tar Heel teammates are just moments away from realizing NBA dreams. There's been a rising tide of interest in this Alabama forward. And don't forget that high school kid who lives above the rim, or that Bruin who cut down the nets. On the shores of Lake Ontario, beautiful Toronto, Ontario, Canada, site of the 1995 NBA Draft. They played the first NBA game in this city in 1946. There's the new parquet for the expansion Raptors. I doubt back in '46 that they had a mascot. And I sincerely doubt that the mascot ever floated down from the ceiling of the arena as he did tonight to tip off the NBA Draft in front of between 15 and 20,000 fans here at Sky Dome in Toronto. And there backstage is the green room where the hopefuls await Joe Smith. Will he be the #1 pick, the superstar out of Maryland? Where will Jerry Stackhouse go, the sensation out of North Carolina? And how about the high school kid, Kevin Garnett, out of Farragut Academy in Chicago, Illinois? Everybody loves the kid. He can jump right out of the gym. So some dreams will be realized tonight. And to get it started, let's go to the commissioner of the NBA, David Stern.
Good evening, and welcome to the 1995 NBA Draft. Held for the first time in Canada, home of the NBA's two newest teams, the Vancouver Grizzlies and the Toronto Raptors. This year's draft is being telecast on both TNT in the United States and YTV here in Canada. To our fans across North America and to those of you gathered here in Sky Dome, home of the Raptors, thank you for joining us. You all know the rules, so let's get started. The first pick in the 1995 NBA Draft will be made by the Golden State Warriors, who have 5 minutes to make their selection.
And so the clock has started on the 1995 NBA Draft, live from Toronto. Good evening, everybody. I'm Ernie Johnson here at Sky Dome. And this is usually a night of great celebration in the NBA. Kids realizing their NBA dreams. There will be 58 chosen tonight. But while there may not be a dark cloud hanging over Sky Dome tonight, there are some clouds on the NBA horizon because there is still not an agreement between the owners and the players on a collective bargaining agreement. And there's been a lot of noise made by some high-powered players and high-powered agents about decertifying the players' union, just busting it up. And chaos could ensue in the minds of some. In the minds of others, players say, look, they tried to agree to an agreement that we did not like, and if that hadn't happened, we wouldn't be here in the first place. The latest straw today, Patrick Ewing, Michael Jordan, leading a group of 7 NBA players filing in federal court in Minneapolis an antitrust suit against the NBA. So the theme in the 1990s of big league sports in the courts apparently continuing, and that cloud on the horizon for the NBA here tonight as we kick off the draft of 1995. Let's get the NBA's response to what has happened in the courts in Minneapolis today as we turn it over to Craig Sager right now. Craig?
Well, Ernie, surprising and disappointing. A week ago, the players and the owners had agreed in principle to a new collective bargaining agreement. Russ Granick, the deputy commissioner, was the chief negotiator. Obviously, you're disappointed. But what does this mean from the league standpoint? How do you respond to today's action?
Well, I'm not particularly concerned about the lawsuit today. I think this law firm has been railing about the antitrust laws and the NBA for the last 2 decades and has never gotten any judgment against the NBA. It's kind of a nuisance, and I think perhaps reflects the fact that they don't have the support that they say they have when it comes to an election in front of the NLRB.
But when they put Michael Jordan and Patrick Ewing's name on a lawsuit, it has a lot of credence. Your moratorium expires July 1st. What are the chances? Are the owners owners united in a possible lockout of the players?
Well, I think the owners are very united. We spent 18 months trying to negotiate a deal, and then finally, after 3 weeks going around the clock, last week we concluded a deal with the union. Then, as the result of these few players and a few agents, we were told the union couldn't ratify the deal. So the owners feel that they've done everything that they can possibly do in these circumstances, and they're going to have to make a decision within the next 48 hours when the moratorium expires as to what to do. And I'm sure they'll make that decision, probably tomorrow or the next day.
The commissioner told us last night he was optimistic but losing confidence. November, the season is supposed to start. Does this further enhance the possibility that we will not start the season on time?
Oh, I think that there's a real risk of that. If our players are going to have to make a difficult decision. Either they want to join with these agents who seem intent on overturning the entire business, or they have to decide that the partnership's been pretty good for everybody for the last 10 years. If they go with the former, then I think we're very much in risk of losing a significant part or maybe all of next season.
Well, does basketball follow the path of baseball, or do they learn from the ex-national pastime? We'll see. Back to you, Ernie.
Thank you very much, Craig Sager. Sort of an ominous note on which to start the proceedings on draft night 1995. And I hear you groaning at home. Here we go again. Let's hope we're not going that way again. Joining me here tonight, Hubie Brown and Rick Pitino. One of these three has never coached the New York Knicks. I'll let you guys at home guess that one. Hubie Brown, let's look at this big picture on this night. What are we going to see? There's been a lot of wrangling, a lot of jockeying the last 24 hours.
Ernie, it could be a draft of musical chairs. A player could be picked early in this draft and then traded somewhere down in the first round. You might look at that and say that trade is totally inadequate. But once there is an agreement over the summer between the NBA and the Players Association, we'll see the cap go to 23 or 24 million, and then over the summer, players will change teams. A delayed reaction, the secondary phase of a trade.
Well, if this guy to your left hasn't coached a guy or played against him or tried to recruit him, then he's not here tonight. Rick Pitino of the University of Kentucky. A lot of undergraduates in the field. Are they ready for the NBA, Rick?
Probably not physically or mentally, but they're the best out there right now. They've taken our juniors out of the college ranks. Now it's the sophomores. Now, unfortunately, it's high school players. But they're very talented young men. Which one will reach his potential? That's what the scouts have to make up their minds about.
Well, the Golden State Warriors had the first pick in the 1995 draft, and a lot of speculation was that Joe Smith of the University of Maryland would be the first pick. And let's go to the commissioner of the NBA, David Stern, who will make the announcement on who the Golden State Warriors have chosen number one in the 1995 draft.
With the first pick in the 1995 NBA draft, the Golden State Warriors select Joe Smith from the University of Maryland.
Smith, 6'9½", 220 pounds, 19 years old. Yes, one of those early entry guys, just a sophomore at Maryland. Joins David Thompson and Ralph Sampson as the sophomore ACC Player of the Year. Those are the only three who have done that. Led the ACC in scoring, number 2 in rebounds and blocks, 3rd in field goal percentage, had a 40-point game against Duke. And there you see really what this night is all about, folks. You think about all the nights that moms and dads spent watching these kids play, coming up and getting up Saturday morning at 7 o'clock when you really wanted to stay in the rack, but you got up because Joe had a youth league game over at the gym. And it all comes home tonight. Joe Smith, the number 1 pick of the 1995 draft, meeting now with Commissioner David Stern. One of many photo opportunities on the night here at Skydome in Toronto. Joe Smith, the first pick by the Golden State Warriors.
Well, you have to like the choice. They need rebounding, shot blocking, a coachable player. He's got outstanding leaping ability, great quickness, and a terrific low box game.
Any surprise to you, Rick Pitino?
No, not at all. He's a terrific competitor, has a great work ethic, and how do you reach your potential? Have a passion for the game, and he has it.
Joe Smith, the latest of the Golden State Warriors, who figure to have a pretty good team as is coming back if everybody stays healthy. Probably a 50-win-plus team when you take everybody into consideration on that Warrior team. Great intensity, as you see, the rebounding and the shot-blocking abilities. Needs to get stronger, don't we all? Joe Smith, the #1 pick. Mom just thanking her lucky stars. It's happened. And Craig Sager standing by to talk to Joe Smith.
The Naismith Player of the Year, the #1 pick in the entire draft. Is this a dream come true, or is this an unbelievable surprise?
It's a dream come true, more than a surprise. I worked very hard for it, and it's a great accomplishment for myself. I'm all choked up a little bit right now, but it's a great accomplishment for myself.
All right, we saw Mama, Letha. You're the youngest of 7 children. She tells us she's not cutting the apron strings. What plans do you have for you and your family?
Well, I guess she's going out to California with me. She's going out there for the first year, going to live with me, and make sure everything, my first year goes right for me.
All the players were supposed to get together last night. You told me you had butterflies in your stomach. You were nervous. Any way to describe how you feel now?
I'm relieved that it's over. It's been a long, drawn-out process, and it was tough for me the past couple of months, and I'm kind of relieved that it's over.
Golden State Warriors are waiting to talk to you. I know so is your family. We'll go back to Ernie.
Joe Smith, the #1 pick. They call him the Beast. In fact, we understand he's got it tattooed on the chest, and Mom walked by at home one day. He was in the mirror looking at the thing. What is going on, child, with that thing? And kind of, I think, at the end of the tattoo era there for Joe Smith. He just got the Beast, and he's the #1 pick. Kevin Kiley is with us tonight out in Oakland to talk to the Golden State Warriors about this #1 pick. Let's turn it over to Kevin.
All right, Ernie, thanks a lot. Dave Twardzik, obviously general manager. First pick ever for Golden State, quality kid. What were the deciding factors?
Well, he is a quality kid, and what he does on the floor is obvious, but his growth has been very impressive. He came out of the Norfolk, Virginia, and was not really the most heavily recruited guy, but continued to improve. He looked at it as a challenge, and his upside is tremendous, and he has a tremendous work ethic. And he's a blue-collar guy. He'll go in and do the dirty work. He doesn't care how he scores, if he scores. I think he's going to be a very good pick for us, and our fans will love him.
You had some pretty good players to pick from. You had Stackhouse, McDyess, you had Rasheed Wallace. What was the difference? What was the deciding factor?
Well, it is a difficult pick, and it was a difficult pick, but we have good basketball minds in the other room, and it was just something that Joe Smith gave us a little bit more. We need some size, and we're very happy with him.
All right, you have 4 picks in the second round. We'll see you later about those 4 picks. Congratulations.
All right, Kevin.
All right, back to Toronto. Ernie?
Thank you, Kevin. And so the first pick has been made. Now the L.A. Clippers are up. And Hubie Brown, what do you look for when you're trying to bounce back from what the Clippers have been through?
Well, they only won 17 games this year, but it's because of incredible front court injuries to key players like their center position. This is a team that was out-rebounded, six rebounds a game. They need front court help, but they also need quality players in order to get not only starters, but depth at that center or big forward position.
There's been a lot of talk over the last couple of days about what's going on with the Clippers, and some people saying, hey, they want Jerry Stackhouse. Jerry Stackhouse saying, man, I don't know if I want to play there. A lot of those games being played right now, so we'll see who the L.A. Clippers will take with the second pick of the NBA draft. Who else is up there? Antonio McDyess of Alabama is a possibility at the #2 pick there. We very much have the top 4 that everybody was assuming would be there. Let's see how this one falls into place as Commissioner makes his way to the podium.
With the second pick in the 1995 NBA draft, the Los Angeles Clippers select Antonio McDyess from the University of Alabama.
Antonio McDyess is a guy who really came on late in the season in the SEC tournament and also in the NCAA tournament. And I know, Rick Pitino, this is a guy you have coached against.
This young man, and I am so happy tonight, not only for Antonio McDyess, but all of Kentucky, that this young man has gone on to the NBA. He is a terrific, and I mean terrific young man. Great attitude, extremely humble, unlimited potential along the lines of a Sean Kemp. This is exactly what the Clippers need.
And Craig Sager had a story last night on the McDyess family out of Quitman, Mississippi, and how thrilled they were going to be when this moment came up. Mom saying, yeah, I'd like a house. I'd like a china cabinet. Never had one of those. And Antonio McDyess vowing to take care of his family now that he is the #2 pick in the NBA draft as he meets with Commissioner David Stern. Roll Tide, they're saying, are on Birmingham Way right now. Very athletic is Antonio McDyess, 6'9", 230. He was a sophomore at the University of Alabama. And Hubie, what do you like about this guy when you see him?
Well, I think, first of all, he's very coachable. Everyone has nothing but nice things to say about him. He can shoot facing, but he is really a leaper, a body, a banger. good rebounder, good shot blocker, can play power forward on your first unit and give you and buy you time at the center position against second units.
Led the SEC in rebounding, led the team in scoring, rebounds, field goal percentage. Antonio McDyess, the second pick in the NBA draft by the LA Clippers. He is a great athlete. Of course, you're working on the ball handling and the shooting, and boy, what a great night this is. Antonio McDyess, the highest Alabama player ever picked in the draft, and he's standing by with Craig Say.
Well, Antonio, just 2 years ago, you're playing high school basketball in Quitman, Mississippi. Now you're up on the podium before a worldwide audience, second pick in the draft. How surprised are you all this has happened so quickly?
I'm real surprised. I mean, I never thought I'd be in a position so quick, but it came, and it's a great honor to me, you know, and I'm happy, and my family is too.
You go from Quitman to Tuscaloosa, now to L.A., lifestyles of the rich and famous. Is it a scary thought to go out there?
Yeah, but I'm facing to take the challenge and everything, and I got good people behind me, and it's going to be different, but I'm ready to take that challenge.
Now, your family never had a lot of money growing up, but it's obvious from the story we saw last night. They had a lot of discipline. They had a lot of values. They taught you a lot of good things as a good family. Your mom wants that china cabinet. Is she going to get it now?
Oh, she got it. I mean, I love my whole family. I mean, they've been behind me, and they've been pushing me to do good things, and I have. And so I think I deserve this.
What about playing for the Clippers? An opportunity to go into a team that's been struggling, hasn't been in the playoffs a lot lately. You could take them to that new level.
Yeah, I'm going to try. I'm going to give it 100% on the court. I mean, I'm going to bring hard work. I mean, without that, I don't think it'll be a good team. So I'm trying to challenge. I'm willing to do what I can.
Well, enjoy L.A., but don't forget about those values you were taught back in Quitman. Let's go back to Ernie.
Antonio McDyess chosen by the Los Angeles Clippers. Lots of tears of joy being shed backstage, and even a couple here on the studio set by Rick Pitino. He's just so happy for Antonio McDyess to get him out of the SEC. Again, expound on his talents and what he's going to mean in the NBA. What's he got to do?
When you look at Sean Kemp, I think you see Antonio McDyess. He has a tremendous first step to the basket. He has a tremendous first hop above the rim. I also think when you look at the NBA and people say, what's in the future for the NBA with the young people today, with Joe Smith and Antonio McDyess, that's a great start.
You know, we talked earlier in the night, Hubie, about what's going to go on with this draft. Do you keep all these guys? Might some of these guys move? What is your feeling at this point?
No, I honestly feel, because we're privy to some things, and that is that down the line we might see players traded. But like we said, that maybe it does not look like equal talent once the trades are announced down the line. But delayed action over the summer, there will be other pieces that will come, and we know of at least 2 or 3 teams that are going to be involved in this type of a situation.
You see the clock running here, a minute 17, 116, 115, no timeouts to call there either for the Philadelphia 76ers, who have the number 3 pick. What do they need? Where do they go? Is it a Stackhouse thing?
Well, they need a 2 guard. They're looking for one. You look at their front line, very young, energetic, and the trouble last year was inconsistency at the 2 guard position. Now they have tried to make some trades since the season has ended, and also move around in this draft by picking up a player, by changing positions. But you know what? If they take Stoudemire right here, they've answered what they...
Or Stoudemire.
I'm sorry.
If they take Stoudemire, right, we got a real story here.
No, you're absolutely right. Now, if they take Stackhouse at this position, but then again, you must look and see, are they going to succumb to any type of a pressure to take the home city boy, Rasheed Wallace?
Right. Now, where does he fit in? 2 or 3? Is he a shooting guard? Is he a small forward? Where do you play him?
I think he's a 2 guard in the NBA, but John Lucas right now just got all his prayers answered. He's been going to church for 2 weeks. He wanted Jerry Stackhouse, and he just got all his prayers answered.
Jerry Stackhouse certainly available if that is the direction the Philadelphia 76ers want to go in here with the 3rd pick of the 1995 draft. We've already seen Joe Smith go number 1, and we saw Antonio McDyess go number 2. Here's number 3 in the commission.
With the 3rd pick in the 1995 NBA draft, the Philadelphia 76ers select Jerry Stackhouse from the University of North Carolina.
Got some Tar Heel blue in the Sky Dome here tonight, cheering on Jerry Stackhouse, the number 3 pick of the draft. Led the Tar Heels in scoring and steals, the first sophomore since J.R. Reed to lead the Tar Heels in scoring lot of folks say, hey, he's the next Michael Jordan. I don't know if that's unfair baggage to put on a guy because he wears the same color uniform, played at the same place. But Jerry Stackhouse definitely with some athletic skills, some great ability. He can do the spectacular on the basketball court. And here tonight in Toronto, he has become the number 3 pick of the NBA draft. That's a scene which will be repeated time and again tonight. Minnie Stackhouse watching her son Jerry celebrate being the 3rd pick in the draft. Small forward, shooting guard, 6'5½", 208 pounds, out of North Carolina, and he goes to the Philadelphia 76ers.
Well, you look at his talents, Ernie. We know that he's a slasher off the dribble. He loves to attack the rim. He's an excellent offensive rebounder. He'll be a good post-up guy when you post up your 2 guards. But the big thing he must work on now is his perimeter game, because they have the inside people who will be double-teamed. And in the NBA with the 24-second clock, you must have the perimeter shot. He must develop that, as well as defending the great scorers at the 2 position will be really a novelty for him at the beginning, and he'll have to work hard.
For the first time in NBA draft history, the first 3 picks are all sophomores in college, the latest being Jerry Stackhouse. He's with Segs.
After working out for all the top teams in the lottery, what's your reaction to going to Philadelphia?
Oh, I'm happy. I'm really happy. I'm going to be able to stay on the East Coast and play with a coach who I've become familiar with, and a really young team is, I think, had a good chance of being a contender.
Hubie Brown, Rick Pitino said all-around talent, tremendous skills, but yet you have not reached your potential. How will your game improve in Philadelphia?
I think I have a coach who's really going to push me, and I have teammates around me who can help my game tremendously. So I'm just happy to be in this situation.
What do you think about leaving after your sophomore year now?
Right now, I think I made a great decision. I mean, I think if any other team would have drafted me, then maybe it wouldn't have been a good decision. But with this pick, I think I made a great decision.
How will you have to change your game to play the 2-guard position, specifically on the defensive end?
I don't think it would be a big change for me. I've guarded smaller players, in college, and I've also guarded bigger players. So I think it's just going to help me. Being able to play some power forward at North Carolina really just going to help me be able to, guard bigger and smaller players.
Okay, well, thanks a lot. The top 3 picks so far, all sophomores. Will continue our coverage of the 1995 NBA Draft from the Sky Dome in Toronto in just a moment.
Beautiful Toronto, Ontario, Canada, site of the 1995 NBA Draft. We're inside Sky Dome where 3 picks have been made, and up next the Washington Bullets with the number 4 pick in the draft. Ernie Johnson back with you here from Sky Dome along with Rick Pitino and Hubie Brown. And Hubie, you look at the Bullets and a lot of folks are thinking, hey, are they going to give up the 4 pick to Portland as part of this deal? And they were kind of the linchpin in this first round.
Well, up until now, nothing has happened. Now, are they drafting in order to make a trade with Portland later? Well, that we really don't know. This is a chance for them, though, to get a quality big man in Rasheed Wallace. Or they could go for a young, small forward in Garnett. Now, this will be interesting because if they take Garnett, everyone will be saying, hey, there's going to be a major trade somewhere along the line here. Well, we'll just have to wait and see.
And we will not have to wait too much longer. There's the commissioner, and here comes the 4 pick.
With the 4th pick in the 1995 NBA Draft, the Washington Bullets select Rasheed Wallace from the University of North Carolina.
So power forward is the position of the night so far. 3 out of the 4 picks. The big forward spot. And this is a big guy, 6'9 3/4", 230 pounds. The 20-year-old Rasheed Wallace out of Simon Grants in Philadelphia, one of the most highly recruited players in the country. And a sophomore at the North Carolina. 4 straight sophomores now chosen, Rick Pitino, and you've seen this guy up close.
Quite a few times. Lost a recruiting battle to North Carolina with him. But I'll tell you something about Rasheed Wallace. Out of all the players, I think he fits the NBA bill better than everyone else right away. Physically, he can come in and play the power forward spot. He shoots it well from 18 feet. He's a shot blocker. And then you can turn around and play him as a backup center. I think this is a great pick. They say emotionally he may not be ready, but what sophomore in college is ready?
Exactly right. I shudder to think about my sophomore year in college. 93 blocks, to set a Tar Heel record this year. He also can go on a tear against Georgetown in the NCAA tournament. 20 second-half points on 9 out of 9 field goals. There is the 4th pick of the draft, Rasheed Wallace of North Carolina.
Ernie, what you get here, you get the shot blocking, but you get a high percentage shooter. He has a nice game with his back to the basket. You can see the sweeping hook. He has a jump hook. He can hit the jump shot facing, and then you can see right there the athleticism is nothing but outstanding. Now the problem, maybe a low pain threshold, okay? Maybe because of the age factor, not ready emotionally to take on the big, strong, heavier type of players early. But you put him in through that weight program and they build the upper body, this guy has nothing but an upside.
We heard a huge roar go up, a lot of that being from backstage at the green room when Rasheed Wallace was selected, a big bunch of it coming from Tobacco Road, I believe, around the ACC. Happy to see this guy get out of the conference. Rasheed Wallace taken 4th in the NBA draft. Let's go to Craig Sager.
Well, Rasheed, we heard all-around talents. Rick Pitino said ready for the NBA with a body like nobody else in this entire draft, especially for a sophomore. But looking and have your teammate go so early, why now, besides the money?
We felt as though it was the time now, and we felt ready, so we just came out, do what we got to do.
You visited a lot of the top teams. What was your impression of the Washington Bullets?
I like the way they work down there. Coach Lynham, he's a great coach. He's in Philadelphia with me, so I have faith in him and the Washington crew.
We've had a big rivalry in college basketball between Michigan and North Carolina. Chris Webber, Juwan Howard, how'd you get along with them?
I know Juwan personally. He's a great person. I've met Chris a couple of times. He seems to be nice, but we're going to go back and forth, say Michigan and Carolina stories.
Okay, good luck. Okay. Let's go back to you, Renee.
All right, and let's go to Rick Pitino, a guy who has seen him many times in college. What kind of a pro future do you forecast for a guy like Rasheed?
I think he's got a great future, but he really physically as well as emotionally has to get used to the NBA. Most of these guys around All-Star break are going to run into a wall. Most guys who spend 4 years out of college run into that wall, but now as a sophomore it even gets greater.
Next up, we've got the Minnesota Timberwolves. They have the number 5 pick in the draft. What do they look for here, Hubie?
Well, they're looking for talent.
And this is an expansion team that's never made the playoffs. Everybody else does. What's the problem?
Well, I would think that, as you look back at the players who they've drafted on the first round over the years, I think only 2 of them are still on the team. And that's a big fact. Right now, they need talented people. They were out-rebounded by 6 a game, and that accounts for the fact it makes it difficult to win the close ball games. So at this point, do they go for Garnett, the high school player, a shot blocker, but you're saying he's still a high school player with a great deal of talent? Or do they go for a big center, at this spot? I don't think that they go for a guard. I think it's going to be something up front help. You
bring up the name of Kevin Garnett, and a lot of folks around the NBA are thinking, hey, this guy is going to go, it could be here certainly in the top 10. And would the Minnesota Timberwolves be the team that might want this guy? And you take a look at their needs at this point, Hubie.
Yeah, I think when you look at the unrestricted free agents, they're losing Mike Brown, a center, and then you have your other people who are, perimeter types of players. But the big thing is Ernie, they can't win with their present guys up front. They need help. But you also want to get here a talent for the future, a person who has a lot of upside, a lot of potential, and this young guy could be a star.
He's as good a high school basketball player as I've seen in the last 10 years physically. He'll probably eventually be a power forward. Maybe they'll play him a little bit at small forward. He has all the skills. Great leaper inside, runs the floor well, has great vision as far as passing is concerned. So he has everything.
Let's go down to the podium. The commissioner is ready with the number 5 pick in the draft.
With the 5th pick in the 1995 NBA draft, the Minnesota Timberwolves select Kevin Garnett from Farragut Academy in Chicago.
The high school kid is the number 5 pick in the NBA draft. Kevin Garnett, 19 years old. Won't be 20 until next year, so he's a young 19. Parade All-American first team, Mr. Basketball in Illinois and in South Carolina. He was in Malden, South Carolina for a time before going to Chicago. The story, why is he going to the NBA now? His test scores were not high enough, did not want to do the junior college route. He applied for early entry to the NBA draft, and he's the 5th early entry candidate in a row now to be selected in this draft. And his stories are becoming legend already from people who watch him work out, from the fact that I guess he had a triple-double in 1 quarter in high school. And also in the Chicago camp, Hubie, this guy was knocking some people's socks off.
Yeah, well, I think he surprised people who said we went in to watch him work out hoping that he was really not that good. Unfortunately, they got in there and they saw the athleticism. Plus, one of his biggest, not only the shot blocking rebound, he runs the floor like the wind for a player that size. And then he's probably right at the top as one of the best passers that we have in this draft, to go along with everything else that he possesses.
Well, let's take a look at Kevin Garnett in action, the Farragut Academy product out of Chicago, the power forward, and take me through his game, Rick.
I went to watch him play in high school, and I felt he had all the skills of one of the better high school players I've seen up front in some time. He, as you see here, he has soft hands, he can turn around. He's a little thin, but that will develop in the NBA. I made a statement, though. I thought he was immature for the college game at that point. Now he goes to the professional game where it's a totally different environment. Kevin McHale understands that. He understands the guidance this young man's going to have, and a lot of time is going to have to be spent with him.
He follows in the footsteps of Moses Malone and Daryl Dawkins and Bill Willoughby, straight from high school right into the NBA ranks. Tough to do. Let's check in now with Craig Sager, who was with the Sports Illustrated cover guide.
Well, that was the cover. Ready or not? That was the big question. Why do you think you are ready for the big transition, the step from high school to the NBA?
Well, one reason I think I'm ready is because I work so hard. I think everybody who's in this draft has worked hard to get to where they're at, and I think I have I'm pretty exception. I work pretty hard at everything that I do, and I know the NBA is just another level of hard work, and I'm set for that step.
What qualities of your game can Timberwolves fans expect to see immediately on the court?
Number one, they're just going to see a person and a player that comes out and plays hard every night, 1,000%. I'm going to see some teamwork. I'm going to see some passing. I'm a team player. I don't mind if I get the ball. I just try to go in there and do my best and then leave the game, saying that I gave it my all. That's all.
What interests do you have other than basketball? How will you occupy your time after a 2.5-hour practice?
Well, I plan on getting my degree as far as college and everything, because everybody, especially my mother, that's something she really wants me to have, and I plan on getting that. Even though I am in the NBA, I can say that now. I plan on using my off time for as far as reaching my degree, and that's a goal of mine. That's something I like to get. Some goal I'd like to reach at this time.
Well, it's time to start studying now. Here's the Minnesota roster. You go back and study it while we send it back to the stat.
All right, thank you, Craig, and thank you, Kevin Garnett. And he's just a big, fun-loving kid. We saw him in the lobby yesterday. He had one of the lines of the week. He looked at Hubie and said, "Man, I love your action." Hope you love the action, too. And it's just starting here in the 1995 NBA Draft. We'll be back here at Skydome in just a minute. Fear of heights? Don't go there. Welcome back to the 1995 draft from Toronto and Skydome. Up next, the first of the NBA's expansion teams, the Vancouver Grizzlies. Stu Jackson, the GM. Brian Winters, the former Atlanta Hawks assistant coach, is the new head coach of the Grizzlies. When you're starting out from scratch, Hubie, what do you do?
Well, the one thing is you try to get center help as well as big forward. They have an opportunity here, if they like, big country at 7 foot, 290 pounds. A player that has a nice game with his back to the basket, can score, make foul shots, and is very powerful inside. Now, we know that he has slowness of foot, but, how do you feel about it, Rick?
I agree with you. I remember watching Rick Smits senior year in college, and I said to my friend, that's one person who will never play in the NBA. And when you look at big people, they take time to develop, and this is a good move for the Vancouver Grizzlies.
Let's see who they take with their first pick ever. Here's the commissioner.
With the 6th pick in the 1995 NBA Draft, the Vancouver Grizzlies select Bryant Reeves from Oklahoma State University.
They call him Big Country. That's a name that Byron Houston, his former Oklahoma State teammate, gave him when he visited New York for the first time. He'd never been on an airplane before. And he likes the name, and There's one of his brothers who is slightly smaller country. I mean, you talk about the distinguishing looks of the Bryant Reeves family. The flat top haircut, the barrel chest. They got some weight, and he's got a brother who's 12, 13, another one who's 15, 16. Says, yeah, I got game too. So we may be seeing another one of the Reeves here in a few years. But there is Bryant out of Oklahoma State University. Had never lifted a weight before he showed up at Oklahoma State, and Eddie Sutton took him under his wing and turned him into a player. I think Eddie Sutton was as surprised as everybody the way this kid developed. And Bryant Reeves is the number 6 pick in the draft, going to the Vancouver Grizzlies. And somehow that seems apt. This guy looks like he could be the poster guy for that franchise. Big Bryant Reeves, a 7-foot, 290-pounder. He's one of 5 players in Big 8 history with 2,000 points and 1,000 rebounds, joining D. Manning, Wayman Tisdale, Byron Houston, who gave him his moniker, and Doug Smith. How about Bryant Reeves, guys?
I like it. I'm happy for him because when you think about how far he has come during his 4 years of college and how much work he has put into it. Great hands and a very soft shooting touch.
And it's a great place for him to develop. Stillwater, Oklahoma. It's really well schooled by Eddie Sutton. He goes to New York. If New York had a first-round draft pick, picture him riding the subways of New York. Everybody immediately gets off.
Out of Gans, Oklahoma, population 400 when everybody's home. Let's go to Craig Say.
They do grow them big in Gans, Oklahoma. You're the biggest now, but I saw your brothers go through that food line a little bit earlier, and Ernie Johnson was coming. They may be bigger than you someday.
Yeah, you know, right now I'm the biggest, but they're probably going to catch me somewhere down the line. They're both pretty good size for their age.
Big challenge out west. You have David Robinson, you have Hakeem Olajuwon, Dikembe Mutombo at the center position. Then forward you have to battle Sean Kemp, you have to battle Karl Malone, Charles Barkley. How do you step up your game for this new challenge?
Well, you know, I think I'll be able to step up my game to play these guys. You know, I've watched these guys on TV all the time, and you know, to be able to go against them is going to be a dream. You know, the first time I don't necessarily want to look at the box score afterwards, but you know, I'll be ready to play against them every night.
Hubie Brown said this guy has offensive skills. He's worked hard at his game. There's no bigger compliment than when it comes from Hubie. What would you tell other players in your position maybe a few years ago who want to sit there, big centers, how to improve their game?
Well, you know, I think that you have to work at it every minute of the way. You know, you have to listen to people that have been there, know what's going on. You know, that's the way I try to approach it. I listen to the veterans, listen to the coaching staff, and just give it 150%, and everything will happen good for you.
Well, I went on a recruiting trip with Stu Jackson. We saw so many players throughout the country. I'm glad he got you. Tell him congratulations.
Thank you very much.
The Bryant Reeves family modeling the Vancouver Grizzlies the Vancouver Grizzlies hat. The expansion team and the other expansion team, the Toronto Raptors, has the next pick. The clock is running on them. Reggie Theus is standing by in Vancouver. Let's go to Reggie on this first pick for the Grizzlies.
All right, thanks a lot. Stu, you said you wanted a big man, and you got one with a lot of beef.
Yeah, we got one of the biggest. Obviously, we're extremely excited to get Big Country in our fold, and, you know, he's a guy that we feel will really endure the NBA season. He's got an excellent offensive game, great size, which is at a premium in this league, and he plays bigger in the bigger games.
Well, you know, you got a team full of small forwards and guards. Now, Brian is a low post center. How are you going to take advantage of his skills?
Well, you know, obviously we position ourselves in the expansion draft to allow him to come in and obviously play a great deal. We'll rely on him and let him develop at the same time, and hopefully, you know, we'll get to a point where our whole team feeds off of our center play.
You think he's going to be a factor right away, or is it going to take him a couple of years?
Well, with big people, it takes time, and you have to be willing to wait on them and allow them to develop. And as an expansion franchise, I can't think of a better place for BC, Big Country, Bryant Reeves to be.
All right, Stu. Let's go back to Toronto, all right?
All right, we are back here at Sky Dome where the place is starting to rock. 21,000 in the house here at Sky Dome, and they are waiting for the Toronto Raptors' first choice. Isaiah Thomas and the guys working on this thing. And they're saying, we want Ed, we want Ed, we want Ed O'Bannon. I don't know if that's going to be the situation with the Toronto Raptors. Ed O'Bannon kind of slipping in some eyes because of the problem with his knee. We'll get into that a little bit more later. What do you do if you're the Toronto Raptors here? Hubie Brown, you're in the same position as the Vancouver Grizzlies. Where do you go?
Yeah, but I don't think it's quite an obvious pick here. Mainly because of the medical condition of O'Bannon. Plus, you have no idea what Toronto is going to do with the expansion players that they've drafted, if they are going to move some of them to other teams and get a different type of player back. I think the draft changes now. We're in a crapshoot.
How about a role of the Mick Dice, as you will? How about B.J. Armstrong, the situation here? I mean, does he stay? Does he go? What kind of wrangling is going on in that Toronto war room, and with the big picture in mind?
Well, you're not sure right now. Nobody knows who Toronto's going to pick right now. We'll be surprised if it is Ed O'Bannon, but the people may tear down this place if it's not.
The roar goes up because the commissioner is making his way toward the podium to announce the Toronto Raptors' first choice in the 1995 draft. Let us listen in.
With the 7th pick in the 1995 NBA draft, their first draft and their first pick, the Toronto Raptors select Damon Stoudemire from the University of Arizona.
Bombs are bursting in air over the Raptors' new parquet. There were a few, I guess you expect that at draft night, a few boos because people say, hey, that's not the guy we wanted. But Damon Stoudemire, the first point guard taken in the 1995 draft. Any surprise here, Hubie, that he's the choice?
No, because I think it's a player that they really like. Now, you have Greg Anthony on this ball club that they've chosen. You know, you also, the B.J. Armstrong routine. You're looking now, is B.J. going to stay here? If he is not going to stay here and they're going to move him, well, then you're looking for a point guard. Now, Isaiah Thomas likes his skills, has been vocal about that he is a guy who can handle a basketball, penetrate with three-point range. So, you know, he's the one who's making the call here.
Does Isaiah Thomas see a little bit of himself in a pick like Damon Stoudemire?
Let's hope so for Damon Stoudemire. He's a great player, loves to play this game. I'm not sure about this, though. Someone's going to be traded in this organization.
Yeah, you would think that you can't have too many. Well, some coaches would say you can't have too many good ones, but you can't have too many on your roster. Somebody is probably going to go. But there is Damon Stoudemire, the Toronto Raptors' first pick, and the answer to a trivia question now in Toronto basketball circles, as he meets with Commissioner David Stern out of Wilson High School in Portland and the University of Arizona. 5'10", 170 pounds, a 21-year-old Damon Stoudemire. And are you concerned about the build now once he goes to the NBA?
Now, what you're concerned about is the talent. And the big factor here is that they feel that he can take people off the dribble and finish in the lane. Now, that's the first thing. Can your point guard break down the defenses with the clock going down? The other factor is can he get the team into the offensive goal and make the pass? Well, they feel that he can do all of these things. Plus, they like the fact that he's a basketball Benny. This guy enjoys playing the game, and one of the toughest positions that we're finding to fill today in the NBA is point guard.
He's the only true point guard in the draft, possibly with the exception of Travis Best, and we don't know if he's going to go in the first round.
Craig Sager standing by, and he's ready to go. Craig?
Well, we have with us the first pick of the Toronto team. We had Isaiah Thomas making the choice. We had B.J. Armstrong parading around talking about the choice. Three guys that even the commissioner looks down on. That's a lot of point guards in this organization. Can you put us any insight into a trade, whether it's you or B.J. that stays?
No, I don't have any idea, about or know anything about a trade right now. All I know is I'm just happy that Toronto and Isaiah Thomas and Brendan Malone and the organization just gave me this opportunity, and I'm going to try to make the most of it.
Your game, everybody says a tremendous point guard, but you like to shoot, you like to score. Do you have to alter your game, do you think, in the pros?
Well, I think with the type of style that they want to bring into this league with an up-tempo and running gun type of game, that's going to fit me to a T. And so I don't know how much I'm going to have to change my game, but I'm willing to do anything I can to help this Toronto Raptors organization be successful.
A year ago, as your roommate, Khalid Reeves, who was up here, he goes to Miami. Any advice he has told you about the NBA?
Well, no, we really haven't talked that much about the NBA, but I'm definitely going to get with him and talk to him about the ins and outs of it. He's been through it a year, and now I'm coming in, and, I can only learn from somebody like him. We're good best of friends.
There's some mixed response, some boos, some cheers. Take some time. Go change those boos to cheers, will you?
Well, I'm definitely going to try to do that. You know, every fans have their expectations, but you know, the organization had their expectation and standards, and they felt that I was the person that could help this program, or excuse me, this organization out the most right now.
Okay, good luck.
All right, thank you.
Damon Stoudemire, a first-round pick. His dad, Willie, was drafted by Seattle in the 8th round of the 1972 draft. Damon Stoudemire, the first choice of the Toronto Raptors. You saw this guy play, Hubie Brown, in the Goodwill games last year, St. Petersburg, Russia, as we stayed on a boat for a month, and we'll never forget that. What impressed you back then, and what did you think of Stoudemire when you saw him playing against the international competition?
Well, the quickness factor was there, Ernie, and he can break you down defensively off the dribble. He has NBA three-point range. Now, in the Goodwill games, he was sporadic with his shooting, shot under 40 and then under 30 in threes. But at his college career, he's a good, solid 45, 48% shooter, high percentage in threes.
Shot more threes than twos this past season. Standing by now is Isaiah Thomas of the Toronto Raptors, who just made this pick. And Isaiah, good to talk to you again. And geez, leave it to a point guard to pick another point guard, huh?
Yeah, we feel that this is a guy that we wanted all along in the draft. We liked the sophomores and we liked the high school kid, but we wasn't going to have a chance to get him. After that, we felt that the next best player in the draft was Damon Stoudemire. We think with the way the game is changing right now, with the three-point line, his speed, his quickness, the way the pick and roll is played, the up-tempo game that we like to play, he definitely fits the style that we want to play here.
Does this make B.J. Armstrong's situation a little clearer? Is he going to stay or is he going to go?
Well, B.J. has expressed an interest that he'd like to play for a championship contender, and we like to give B.J. that opportunity. He's been a very classy young man, and we would like to think that this organization would treat him with the class and the respect that he deserves. And he expressed the interest to us over the last couple of days that, you know, expansion team was nice, but he really preferred to play for a championship caliber team. We wasn't that as of yet, so we wanted to fulfill his wishes and try to move him on and help him better fulfill his career.
Isaiah, thank you very much for joining us. Next up is the Portland Trailblazers, who moved up to the number 8 spot in a trade with the Detroit Pistons, and they are ready to go. Let's go to the commissioner at the podium with the Portland Trailblazers' first pick of the draft.
With the 8th pick in the 1995 NBA draft, the Portland Trailblazers select Sean Respert from Michigan State University.
The number 8 pick in the draft, Sean Respert out of Michigan State. He can just fill it up, boys and girls. But again, some people say he's 6'3". He's probably closer to 6'1". Where do you play the guy? He's kind of an in-betweener on that point and shooting guard deal. What do you make of this pick, Hubie?
Well, there's a statement, you know, shooting makes up for a multitude of sins, and this guy is probably the best shooter in the draft. Now, we're talking three-point range, medium game, outstanding foul shooter, but when they measured him out in Chicago, he came at 6 foot and 3/4 of an inch. Now, can he move to the point guard position? That's question number 1. Or as long as you play him with a big point guard, he can always run the 2 position for you, guard point guards, and have your point guard because the side guard the off guard. So, you know, you can play it both ways here. But this guy is tremendous in regards to range.
Michigan State's all-time leading scorer. They tracked that progress on the Sean-O-meter courtside at Michigan State. He's the 8th pick, taken by the Portland Trailblazers. What do you think of this game?
Well, he never had the opportunity to play point guard because of the great one in Eric Snow. So I think he can play it, make the transition. I think they were looking at Damon Stoudemire, Portland, probably a little surprised at Toronto's pick. But I think this is a good pick. I think he'll make the transition, and now you have to look at Rod Strickland moving on in a possible trade.
Yeah, school record 119 threes he shot. He had 9 at Indiana in one game and 40 points in that game. 23 games of at least 20 points, and he had double figures in all 28 games. And put all those numbers together, you say this guy is a pretty good shooter. Sean Respert, taken by the Portland Trailblazers. Another happy family. Greg Sager standing by now with Sean Respert. Greg?
Okay, a huge hat. Well, Big Country, maybe Ward earlier, he had the biggest family here, but as far as numbers, Respert's 45 extra people. You could have filled the green room by yourself.
Well, you know, we're right here. near Detroit, and I got a lot of family that wanted to come see and enjoy the festivities.
He'll be questioned whether you can play the point. Obviously, it was fire and ice in college, the best backcourt possibly in the nation with Eric Snow. Can you play the point in the NBA?
Definitely. I think a lot of those questions will be answered when the opportunity comes to play. I think a lot of people didn't see that because I had a great point guard in college in Eric Snow. And, you know, playing with him just really brought out my point guard skills, and it's something that a lot of people didn't know playing a point guard in high school. You know, I brought that to college and had to transfer to a two-guard.
You've made your family very proud, not only on the basketball court, but also the degree at Michigan State. What have you guys been talking about the last few days?
Just, you know, how the next couple months are going to come, you know, how to prepare myself for what's getting ready to happen. And, you know, I'm ready for it. You know, after graduating from college and spending my years and my enjoyment during my college years, you know, it's ready to take care of some business now.
Congratulations. You're ready. Portland's ready for you. Good luck. Go take care of those 45 people. We'll continue the draft. New Jersey is up next as the 1995 draft continues from the Skydome in Toronto.
Inside Skydome as the 1995 NBA draft continues. Next up with the 9th pick in the first round, the New Jersey Nets. Hubie Brown, this is the worst field goal shooting team in the NBA. What do you do?
Well, unfortunately for them, they lost Benjamin in the expansion draft, and then also Morris and Williams are unrestricted free agents. We're talking about a team that could lose 3 key guys in their 8-9-man rotation. So they could go in any direction.
And which direction might that be? Now, what do? You go for a big-time scorer here? Do you go for somebody in the middle?
Well, everything is going to come down to the doctors for a particular team in regards to Ed O'Bannon, because the talent is there. It's whether or not the doctors will allow the team or suggest to the team that they should gamble and take him at the pick.
Let's go to the commissioner.
With the 9th pick in the 1995 NBA draft, the New Jersey Nets select Ed O'Bannon from UCLA.
They were chanting his name here in Skydome when it was the Toronto Raptors' turn to pick. It's the New Jersey Nets who select Ed O'Bannon, the UCLA Bruin, the co-players of the year in the Pac-10. Damon Stoudemire and Ed O'Bannon now have been chosen here in the first round, 2 of the first 9 picks chosen. And the question is on the left knee of this guy, Rick Pitino.
Well, every doctor has made the same statement. Tremendous arthritis in the knee. Now, you're looking at that and you're saying, well, why did they pick him? New Jersey showed a lot of guts in making this pick. They did it because this young man is a big-time winner, a big-time competitor. He's from a great family. Obviously, with the new collective bargaining agreement, they want their 3 or 4 great years. We're hoping it's 10 because you don't find a better competitor or a better young man than this young man, Ed O'Bannon.
You saw him hug his dad, Ed Sr., who was a wide receiver on the 71 UCLA football team. You say it took guts to make the trade. This guy has got guts.
Well, you're talking about a great talent. 6'8", pogo stick. He had 16 boards in the big, you know, in the NCAA final. Now you're talking about a guy who can post up. He runs hard on the break. He can sky. He's now developed an outside shot. He can make the three-pointer. So he's an excellent small forward prospect because he can take you off the dribble and get to the rim and get fouled.
Not only did he have those double-digit boards, he played all 40 minutes of that title game. The guy's a real warrior and loves to play the game.
One of the better high school players in the country, has a tough injury with a total reconstructed knee, makes himself into the premier college player in the country. Now he's got another major battle ahead of him, but I think he has the guts to overcome any problem. Certainly, I think more than anything else, his lack of bulk will help that knee, and that's what all the doctors say is in his favor.
A great night for the O'Bannon family, and spent some time with them last night. How thrilled they are, and his brother Charles will continue at UCLA next year. There's Madeline O'Bannon, Ed's mom. A great time for her. He's the number 9 pick in the draft. And now let's go to Greg Sig.
The past couple of months, you've been named the MVP of the Final Four. You've earned a college degree, and now you're a top 10 pick in the NBA draft. How do you describe this incredible run?
I can't, to be honest with you. You know, the Lord put me in a wonderful position, and I thank him every day, and I thank him for the chance to go out and play basketball and do the best that I can on and off the basketball floor.
Every team wanted Ed O'Bannon. Some stayed away, worried about the left knee, the arthritis. You've seen all the doctors. What have they told you? How about the durability of an 82-game regular season?
Well, I just look at it this way. I'm not the only one playing 82 games, you know. I think everyone coming out of college and high school has to adjust to the rigors of a long season. And, you know, my knee is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. The doctors looked at it, and they can say what they want, but at the same time, you can also look at the films and see that over the years I've gotten better. My legs have gotten stronger, and I just thank God, man. I'm in a great position, and I'm having a great time.
You're the spokesman for UCLA. Do you go into New Jersey as a rookie, or do you go in as a leader?
Well, I'm going in as a leader. I mean, that's the way I see it. You know, hopefully things work out for us. You know, they have a great team, great coaching staff, and I just want to go in and do the best that I can.
New Jersey, championship state. They got the Devils the Stanley Cup. Now they got the MVP of the Final Four.
No question about that. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Craig. Another lefty hits for Brendan Byrne. Ed O'Bannon joining Kenny Anderson and Derek Coleman, all southpaws with the New Jersey Nets now. The Miami Heat up next with the number 10 pick. Still to come later in this first round, back-to-back picks at 18 and 19 for the Detroit Pistons and their new head coach, and a guy we know somewhat, Doug Collins, who is standing by in Detroit. Dougie, it's good to see you, and boy, you're looking mighty relaxed here for draft night.
I'm pretty relaxed, Ernie. Hopefully it'll go our way here at a few picks, so we're feeling good.
What was the thinking behind the swap with Portland?
Well, Ernie, when you look at our roster, you can see that we've got some very talented perimeter players with Grant Hill and Allen Houston and Joe Dumars and Lindsey Hunter, and we have to shore up our rebounding and defense. So we felt like that if we could move down and maybe get a quality veteran player and maybe a couple young players that can rebound and defend for us, we've got a chance maybe to win some games next year.
What are you looking at, Doug? Are you looking at front court help with the first pick or back court help?
Hubie, I'm going to follow your lead. You got to have big people who can rebound and defend, and that's what we're going to try to get in this draft.
Doug, what do you look for as the night goes on here? You've also got a couple in the second round, a chance to really change the face of this team if you choose to.
Ernie, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get a more competitive team, a team that's physically and mentally tougher. And as I said before, we've got some great perimeter players, and we feel like if we can shore up our front line with some toughness, that we've got a chance to compete 82 nights. And you know, last year we were sorely out-rebounded. Teams got to the free throw line against us, and we just have to be better in the paint.
Doug, it looks like you got your game face on, big guy. It's good to talk to you, and keep the mic handy. We'll talk to you as the night goes on. You know, this is about a 4.5-hour horse we're riding. You've been here before.
Well, Ernie, just don't second-guess me like I did you guys last year. That's all.
Never happened, Dougie. Thanks for being with us. Next up, it's the Miami Heat. Again, Hubie, as we go to you for the guy who knows these teams inside and out and knows what Miami needs. Of course, don't give me that smirk. Of course you do. What do you do with Miami?
I think that they just lost John Sally in the expansion draft, and you know, you're talking about a big player. I think at this spot that they're kind of leading possibly to a power forward.
And also, you're looking at the questions on this team. Who's going to coach them, and what kind of an impact does that have? You don't have a coach at this point.
Well, it's a big impact. I believe maybe David Wall will coach them for a year and possibly wait for Pat Riley. But on the other hand, you know, they've given away a lot of their first-round draft picks in the last few years.
The Miami Heat with the number 10 pick, and here's the commish.
With the 10th pick in the 1995 NBA draft, the Miami Heat select Kurt Thomas from Texas Christian University.
Well, he has the same name as the once famous gymnast, and he has now vaulted into the top 10 of the NBA draft. Boy, that was brutal, wasn't it? Kurt Thomas out of TCU, the #1 scorer and the #1 rebounder in the college ranks this season out of Texas Christian. And I don't know, there are some people, if you read the articles, who say the guy's cocky, he's talking too much, he'll talk some smack, but maybe some teams like that. Maybe that's a show in college. How do you gauge the kid's attitude?
Well, when you think about it, that he has a screw in his ankle, and he played with broken bones in 2 hands during the course of the season, still led the country in rebounding and scoring. If this guy ever gets healthy, everyone is saying that wherever he worked out, they liked his explosiveness. You're talking 6'9", and you're talking a nice frame. 225 now, and he'll get bigger once they put him in a weight program.
And he really gets to the line. 11 free throws, nearly 11 free throws a game, so he will bang and get to the line for you. He is also just the third player in NCAA history to lead in scoring and rebounding. The others, Xavier McDaniel with Wichita State in 84-85, and the late Hank Gathers with Loyola Marymount in 88-89. Angela Thomas, Kurt's mother. Proud moment for her as Kurt, out of TCU, goes number 10 to the Miami Heat. Take me through his game, Rick.
Well, he's a great scorer, obviously, rebounder. His problems are his injuries, whether he can overcome those injuries and get healthy. But I'll tell you the interesting thing about Kurt Thomas. I think he could be one of the sleepers in the draft. Not that a sleeper is number 10 pick, but not too many people know about it. I think the system of Billy Tubbs really helped that possession game that he plays. But anytime you get the leading scorer and rebounder, those are numbers that you have to seriously look at when you're drafting a player.
Ask the Baylor Bears about weaknesses on Kurt Thomas. Not many, probably. 36 points, 25 rebounds against the Baylor Bears this year. Also had 4 games of at least 40 points. Kurt Thomas, the number 10 pick, Miami bound, and we're Craig Sager bound.
A broken left wrist. You still led the nation in scoring and rebounding. How good are you going to be when you're healthy?
I hope I can be a lot better than what I am right now. I'm going to continue to work as hard as I can to improve. I'm getting stronger, gaining weight, and doing what I can to help Miami become a better team.
You had the broken ankle in high school again after your sophomore year. Is there a fear now as you go to the NBA that, man, this may happen again?
I don't think like that. I try to stay positive, just continue to work hard, and hopefully, the Lord has blessed me to be here. He'll continue to look after me.
The change in coaches. Billy Tubbs comes in, has the open style of play. Obviously, it helped vault you into the top 10. What did he tell you about your game as far as the NBA?
He said that he really believed that I was the first rounder if I just continue to work hard, believe in myself, stay confident, and just come to practice every day and just do what he says, and you never know what might happen.
You go to Miami. Have you been on a team without a coach before?
No.
Well, you'll have one soon, I'm sure. Kurt Thomas has to look at the top 10. Milwaukee had the number 1 pick a year ago. They'll have the first pick when we come back as we continue the coverage of the draft from the Sky Dome.
On Lake Ontario, the clock winding down on the Milwaukee Bucks. 25 seconds and counting as they make the 11th pick in the first round. Ernie Johnson back with you at Skydome as our coverage here on TNT of the 1995 draft continues. The Bucks up next. They had the big dog. They have Vin Baker. It's a pretty good front line, pretty good nucleus. What do you do now, Hubie?
Yeah, but they're 24th in rebounding with their present group. So you know that what they're trying to do is improve with young, talented people up front. Now you have Parks. Williamson is still here, and then also a guy, Gary Trent, who is a monster in the MAC conference and who has shown up extremely well in all of the tryouts.
Well, let's see what the Bucks do as we go to the podium, and there's the commissioner.
With the 11th pick in the 1995 NBA draft, the Milwaukee Bucks select Gary Trent from Ohio University.
Oh my, and they're on the ground. Gary Trent. What a story with Gary Trent, and to be honest, this is a tough story. Gary Trent, his dad Dexter spent some time in prison. He is out of prison. They spent some time together in 1994 talking to kids groups together about the NBA, about college ball, about life itself, Gary and Dexter. And now Gary Trent is chosen in the NBA draft. They called him the Shaq of the MAC. Mid-American Conference Player of the Year for the 3rd straight year, scoring nearly 23 points a game for Ohio University. They called him Bump when he was growing up, when he was a little baby, bumping into things. They call him, as I said, the Shaq of the MAC. And Gary Trent, a real talent, Rick.
Well, he's an immovable object in the low post. He shook my hand yesterday and lifted me 3 feet off the ground in the hotel. He's I just think an incredible talent. I think he's a great board guy. He's a great duck-in person. Now, where do you play him? Do you play him at the 4 spot? Is he big enough for that? Or can he learn the perimeter game at the 3?
Kind of a small power forward, the 5th power forward taken out of 11 choices here in the first round of the NBA draft. It is Gary Trent out of Ohio University. 6'6 and a half, 252. He does carry some pounds, Hubie.
Yeah, but he is a quick jumper, and he's a finisher. He's never had problems scoring, and also getting a number of rebounds in the course of a game against big-time talent. I watched this guy in the Olympic Festival, and he was dominating. Now, we're talking very quick. He can handle down inside. Now, when you're putting together a young team like the Milwaukee Bucks, all you're trying to do is add quality, talented guys who play big and play with a big heart.
A great year for this guy, Gary Trent, despite the fact he was double and triple teamed, and he still put up nice numbers. There you see the festivities going on here in Toronto. We go to Craig Sager with Gary Trent.
Well, Gary, your dream has come true. You're underrated no more. Brought a great season, Mid-American Conference this year. Was there a time when you said, hey, I'm ready for this next level?
You know, when I first got to school, I told my coach that I thought I would be ready in 3 years. And I stayed down to school every summer to work real hard at trying to develop myself. And now that I'm here, I'm going to work even harder because I feel I have many more years of work ahead of me than I've already put in.
This summer, you spent a lot of time running around Franklin Park in Columbus with your dad and your sister. What did you guys talk about as you approached the draft?
Yo, man, we just jogged. You know, we just jogged, and I tried to keep my mouth shut and just run. You know, I was sucking a lot of wind. But my dad trained me hard. My trainer, Dave, trained me hard. My coach, Johnny, we worked out with me real hard.
The Mid-American Conference may not have gotten a lot of publicity, but it was a tough league this year.
Oh, yes, it was very tough. You know, teams were pretty much even. So, you know, there was really no dominant teams, but I think it was a close race. It's a lot of good games.
Just awfully nice tonight, but you got to remember, Milwaukee changed the color from green to purple.
Well, I had a friend at home named Kevin. He owned this place called the Men's Shop. And he hooked me up with a couple pieces, you know, that I wore last night and today. So, here to represent.
All right. Congratulations. Good luck. Let's go back to Ernie on this set.
Get that plug in there, Gary Trent. Nice job, and congratulations on being chosen first by the Milwaukee Bucks. The Dallas Mavericks are up next, one of the great turnarounds in recent NBA history. 23 more wins last year than they did the year before, and they have the number 12 pick. Another one of our cast of characters here tonight, Dick Versace, holed up in the war room. Let's go to the bunker and find out what the Mavs are thinking, Dick.
All right, Ernie. Well, it looks like Stu Jackson of the Vancouver Grizzlies is very happy with big country Bryant Reeves, but we kept hearing that Dallas liked him too, and they were willing to give up the 12th, 24th, and a future first-round pick for big country Reeves. It'll be interesting to see if Dallas goes for a big man, maybe Cherokee Parks.
We shall see. Thank you very much, Versace, standing by here in Toronto in the Sky Dome, and we're not going to tell you where, just for crowd control purposes, but Dick Versace with us tonight. How about these Dallas Mavericks? You got that great, I guess I call them the wide-open Jays, Jason Kidd, Jim Jackson, Jamal Mashburn, and you can throw Popeye J. Jones in there. It's not a bad team right now, Hubie.
No, and I think what they can do right now is solidify their front court presence. And there are some interesting people here right now, whether they're looking for a center or a power forward.
One piece at a time, the top draft picks for this team. Jim Jackson, some wise drafting being done here. Jim Jackson, Jamal Mashburn, Jason Kidd last year, and there was a lot of talk. Do you go Jason Kidd? Do you go Grant Hill? And they took Jason Kidd. What do you think of his game, Rick?
I think he has a great game. He's done for his basketball team probably like no other player in the draft, and certainly now it's a chance to bring it one step further. Now, who do you pick? They need a center, obviously. They have Popeye Jones as the rebounder. They need front court help. It's wide open as who they do. They go with Mario Bennett? Do they go with Lauren Meyer, who they like at the high post? So it'll be interesting to see.
What else, big picture, as far as the Dallas Mavericks are concerned, though, Hubie, do you look at the Roy Tarpley situation? Do you think he's going to be gone as that marriage with Dick Motta finally reached an end?
Well, only the people there can say that. Will Tarpley be changing teams during sometime over the season? Well, I don't know. That's questionable. But this is a chance for them to get another solid, quality young player, and that's what I like about the organization now.
Let's see who they take at number 12, the Dallas Mavericks.
With the 12th pick in the 1995 NBA draft, the Dallas Mavericks select Cherokee Parks from Duke University.
There had been some talk in these parts that Cherokee Parks might be a Toronto Raptor. That, of course, did not happen. Damon Stoudemire was the first pick, but the guy out of Duke, Cherokee Parks, is the number 1 pick now of the Dallas Mavericks. And there's your big guy that you can put in there in the middle of that Dallas Maverick mix.
Well, I think that he surprises you with his ability to be a shot blocker. And then also during the course of this past year, he made over 33s. And if you saw them play a lot, he made them in big games at the end of the game when they needed the three-point shot. So you know that he can play high. His low post game he has to work on if he's going to score in the NBA in the low post. But he can block shots, rebound, kick out, and run.
Second in career blocks behind Mike Jaminski on the Duke list. And you've seen this guy several times.
Obviously, they need him to step away from the three-point line and get inside. Not too many threes open with Jamal Mashburn and Jimmy Jackson. So they need him inside. They need him to do some shot blocking and rebounding. And certainly he's a versatile power forward.
The 12th pick in the 1995 NBA draft. The guy who wears 44 for the Duke Blue Devils. The Cherokee Parks. Taken behind Bryant Reeves as a center here in the first round of the draft. Out of Mike Krzyzewski's program at Duke University. Excellent quickness, and he's aggressive, and he will surprise you with his outside touch. He's only been married also for 3 weeks now, a newlywed, and what a nice turn of events this is. You get married and you get drafted. Well, I guess you've been drafted twice within 3 weeks. Let's go to Craig Sager.
Not only a newlywed, but a beach kid who grew up in California, lives in Greenwich Village, played on Tobacco Road. What are your thoughts on being a Maverick?
It's great. I mean, they got a young team, and, you know, judging by the way they played this year, I mean, this is a team where I think I can grow and we can do some good things.
You made only 3 three-point field goals your first 3 years. 31 last year, many in crucial situations. But with Jason Kidd, Jimmy Jackson, Jamal Mashburn, you really think they're going to let you shoot from the outside?
If I get any shots. No, I think that hopefully they can develop me and put me inside, and, you know, I can play a little bit outside, but that's a team that I feel like I can get out there and run the floor with them, and I think, you know, hopefully I can help them on the inside.
Throughout your career at Duke, you said, I'm a college student first, a basketball player second. You are now a pro NBA player. How committed are you to the game, and what type of career do you expect to have?
Hopefully a long one. I'm very committed. This is my job now. And like I'm saying, hopefully in a few years, you know, I can pick up a few rings. So definitely, yeah, I'm with this 100%.
Good luck. You're with a great young team.
Thank you very much.
In a down year for the Duke Blue Devils, Cherokee Parks had himself a pretty good year, and tonight he finds himself drafted in the first round of the NBA draft. Coming up next, the Sacramento Kings, as our coverage of the draft continues from Skydome. Get your souvenirs here at Skydome, draft night. And who's been picked so far? 5 power forwards, 3 small forwards, 2 centers, 1 shooting guard, and 1 point guard. And I'm not going to do that partridge in a pear tree thing. Welcome back to the 1995 NBA draft. And it's time now for the Sacramento Kings to pick number 13 in the first round. You've been talking to Gary St. Jean today, Rick Pitino. What's up?
Well, it's interesting. After the national championship game, if you had to make a pick at that point in time, you'd take Corliss Williamson at number 4. Here we are at number 13, and we don't see Corliss Williamson's name. Let's hope it happens now because he's a great talent.
Yeah, he is still out there as the Sacramento Kings have the floor with the clock winding down. Commissioner David Stern at the podium. Let's see who the Kings took.
With the 13th pick in the 1995 NBA draft, the Sacramento Kings select Corliss Williamson from the University of Arkansas.
So you do have Gary St. Jean's ear, my good man. Corliss Williamson going to the Sacramento Kings in the first round. And interesting that the point you bring out. You come out a year ago, you're probably much higher than this.
Well, if you're going to come out before your senior year, you might as well go when you have the highest market value. Now, he probably thought he could be the number 1 pick by waiting the following year. But here's a young man. Everybody talks about Arkansas's talent. I like to believe in looking at Arkansas's talent that they were better when they had Day and Mayberry and Miller than they did the last few years. They really did not have awesome talent. They had a great system. They're superbly coached, and they had Corliss Williamson. This is a young man that I don't believe has slipped in the draft. I think that there's a lot of young players came out, but if I had to make a pick in the draft, I'd love to start a team with Corliss Williamson.
So his skills have not diminished. There's just been a better crop surrounding him that maybe pushed him down a little bit. But Corliss Williamson, number 13 by the Sacramento Kings. He was the guy who led the Razorbacks to the NCAA title 2 seasons ago at 23 in that final against Duke. the most outstanding player of the Final Four. And he's trying to erase the memories of this past Final Four, the championship game. Zita kind of put the clamps on him. He did not have a good night, but he's a good ball player, Hubie.
Yeah, but, you know, you just don't rate everything on one game. The other factor with him is he's been in the big games, and he's been able to put up big numbers. He's an excellent post-up guy down inside. He does not have what we call a big lift or a big hop. He's not a leaper. What he is a position player. A position player with long arms who has a good knack and feel for the game. He knows how to play the game.
Big Nasty, taken by the Sacramento Kings, and he's hanging out now with Craig Sager, sitting down now to talk to Craig about his selection in the NBA draft, first round by Sacramento.
We talked that if you came out a year ago, MVP in the Final Four, you could have been a top 4 pick. The Kings are awfully glad you didn't. You stayed in college, you did a lot of things, lead role in Romeo and Juliet, but looking from a basketball standpoint, what was it like to sit there and wait to the 13th pick?
It was very hard for me to sit there and wait for it, knowing that I possibly could have had a chance to go higher last year. But I believe I'm a stronger person this year, physically and mentally, and I'm sure I'm mature enough to go into the NBA and hopefully do well.
We have our meetings. Everybody has discussed. Hubie, Rick, Dick, Ernie, everybody agreed this guy is a tremendous talent. What was your thought process going into these workouts? You really impressed the Kings. You're the player they wanted.
Oh, definitely. You had to go into the workouts showing them some of the areas that they probably had questions in. That was basically play on the outside, and I showed them that I could shoot the ball some on the outside, and did some pretty good things on the inside also, and just had a great visit all around.
Well, the Kings are awfully happy you're around this year. They've not had a good playoff run since I was broadcasting their games. That was back when they were in Kansas City. But, Ernie, I think they're on their way.
All right, thank you, Craig Sager. The next 5 picks belong to the Boston Celtics, the Denver Nuggets, the Hawks, the Cavs, and the first of 2 straight for Doug Collins' Detroit Pistons as the first round continues here from Skydome in Toronto. What do you make now of Corliss Williams, and what will he mean to a team like the Sacramento Kings?
Well, it's another young piece. You know, last year with Grant and Smith giving them high energy, they just missed the playoffs. What they do need, though, are people who can rebound in traffic and establish the rebounding over the 48 minutes. And this is another piece in their puzzle.
And Hubie talked about not hanging a guy's everything on one game in a guy's career. But you want a guy who wants the pressure, wants to be in that situation regardless of the outcome. He wants to take the big shot.
No question. It happens all the time, by the way, people making decisions on that one game. But I think this is the scouts normally do the right thing and they don't make many mistakes. They're really brilliant at what they do. But I think this is a major mistake. I think Corliss Williamson is a big-time winner. It's great for Sacramento. Gary St. Jean is going to love to coach this basketball player because he is flat out a warrior.
So years from now, you may have people saying, boy, Gary St. Jean, what a steal he got with Corliss Williamson, number 13 in the first round.
He just extended his contract.
It certainly did. Again.
That's right.
Now, the Boston Celtics have the next pick in the NBA draft. Here's the draft summary so far. Joe Smith was taken number 1 by the Golden State Warriors. ACC players, 3 out of the first 4, and the first 5 picks were all early entries, including the number 5 pick. The high schooler Kevin Garnett was taken by the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Boston Celtics have M.L. Carr as their head coach now. They've got unrestricted free agent Dominique Wilkins and Derek Strong. What is up in Beantown, where they got the new Fleet Center there, Hubie?
Well, I think you take the best player. The best player right now that your scouts have said he's a talented guy. Because we know last year they did not win 41 games. They made the playoffs. So they can stand improvement in a lot of different areas. So I'm interested myself in what they're going to take.
When you take a look at who's available out there now, who's caught your eye and you thought, yeah, maybe this guy could be available. Maybe this guy's the best athlete available.
Well, you got Gary Finley, you got Terrell Ford, you still have a lot of players. I mean, you could pick 24 right now and get a better pick than 12. You don't know what's going to happen.
There's another player out there from Providence, Eric Williams, who not only had a great senior season, but has done a terrific job in all of the tournaments after the season. And this young guy has talent. Now, will they go for a small forward? You already have Dominique Wilkins and you have Fox. So let's see what happens.
And what is your opinion right now of Dominique Wilkins, Hubie Brown, and where he is in his career? And he was, I guess, on the expansion list. Got the big contract, though. Nobody took him.
Yeah, but I think what you have to say is he's a big game player. He thinks that he should be playing 36 minutes, and naturally the coach is wrong if he plays them less. All right, and that he wants to be the center of the offensive play. Well, the coaching staff will decide how much of a factor he's going to be. But we're talking about one of the greatest highlight films that we've ever had in this league from a scoring standpoint.
Boston put a scare into Orlando in the first round of the playoffs. Let's see who they take in the first round.
With the 14th pick in the 1995 NBA draft, the Boston Celtics select Eric Williams from Providence College.
Eric Williams, the first player out of the Big East, chosen in the draft. Not with us tonight here in Toronto. Led the Friars in scoring at 30 points and 11 boards at St. John's. And he had a streak of 19 straight points in this game. How about his game, Rick Pitino?
Well, how about Little Providence College, a small school in the Big East, starting with Marty Conlon, and you got Murdoch, and you've got two other guys last year that were picked in the first round, and now another first-round draft pick. Home of the first-round draft picks. This kid's an explosive scorer, extremely athletic, big-time game player, puts on big numbers, junior college player. I think the Boston Celtics made a great pick here.
Never played organized basketball until his junior year in high school. Tonight he finds himself the 14th pick in the 1995 NBA draft. Coming up next, the Mile High guys, the Denver Nuggets with the 15th pick. We'll be back here in Toronto right after this.